Alright, so one of the more common questions I get besides why are you shooting with a brick in 2025 is which medium format camera should I shoot this year? And while the true answer is probably whichever one you can afford, I thought it would be fun to break them all down in a tier list, where S is the best and D is for don't. Just don't. But to be clear, we probably won't have many of those, as this is my favorite medium format cameras of all time, which includes some of the most legendary cameras ever made. Now, I did do a version of this like 2 years ago, but in classic film fashion, it's aged like expired Portra. It's grainier, it's grittier, and probably better in theory. Some cameras I used to love now give me anxiety, and others I didn't rate highly back then have changed quite drastically. Growth, baby. I also did one recently about color film, so make sure you check that out as soon as you're done with this. I'll be ranking these, keeping a few key things in mind: usability, image quality, reliability, portability, repairability, lens selection, and of course, price. Because medium format has gotten real bougie as of late. Also, if this hasn't been abundantly clear yet, this is going to be only medium format cameras. Sorry, 35mm gang, that's going to be the next video. Alright, that's enough rambling. Let's roll into the tier list with the first camera, which may be bigger than your dog, the RB67. This thing isn't just medium format, it's medium format with attitude. It's big, it's heavy, and it will humble your undiagnosed carpal tunnel. Photographers love this camera for its insane image quality, modular design, and that beautiful 6x7 negative, the perfect balance between resolution and film economy. It's often called a studio beast, and honestly, for good reason. You can shoot it handheld, but you probably don't want to. It uses the Mamiya RZ67 lenses, and the selection is solid. You've got everything from wide 50mm, which is equating to about a 24-35mm, to a chunky 360mm, and they're all leaf shutter, which is great for flash sync, but also means they're kind of a pain to CLA. But overall, it's great optics, sharp glass, and truly underrated bokeh. Just shy of 5.5 pounds without accessories, but add a prism finder and a grip, and you're basically walking around with a handheld microwave. Prices have crept up with the film resurgence, but you can still find a working body plus lens combo for $600 to $900 depending on the condition. Not bad considering the quality, but prices are definitely rising. That being said, this is a slow camera. Everything is manual: focus, exposure, film advance, and you even have to remember to cock the shutter and rotate the back if you're switching orientations. But if you like being deliberate and you don't mind carrying a camera that could legally qualify as a blunt weapon, this is an S tier experience in a D tier carry form. Seriously, I would have loved to see Stone Cold bash someone's head open with some Japanese engineered goodness. Overall, it's an incredible camera for studio portraits, but really terrible for hiking with or doing landscape work with, so I don't know. That being said, if you're chasing that cinematic 6x7 look on a budget, the RB67 is hard to beat. I think for me, I'm going to slot it in A tier with great strengths, but some of the weaknesses are hard to ignore. Next, the RZ67. The RZ67 is the RB67's slightly more evolved sibling. It's like the RB finally went to therapy and learned how to say no to toxic film advance. People love the RZ67. It has the same glorious 6x7 negative size, the same modular setup, but it added some actual modern features. Electronic shutter control? Oh yeah. Rotating back? It's still there, and it just got that much easier to use in the field than the RB67. A favorite among studio photographers and portrait photographers alike. It uses RZ specific lenses, which are honestly incredible. Sharp, clean, and designed with electronic shutter control. You've got popular options like the 110, which is probably the most popular lens, known as the Creamy Dream Machine, a 65mm, 180mm, and even a 500mm if you've got a crane to mount it on. These lenses are some of the best in medium format, period. It is slightly lighter than the RB, but let's not kid ourselves, it's still beefy at 5 pounds without the prism or grip. If you're hand holding this all day, you're either pretty fit or pretty stubborn. These have definitely jumped in price though, especially post-lockdown when half of TikTok started shooting portraits on them. Expect to pay around $1,200 to $2,000 for a body with that legendary 110 lens. Not cheap, but arguably worth it if you're making money on it, or you want that creamy 110 bokeh, which who can blame you? While the electronic shutter is an upgrade, it does require a battery, so no juice equals no photos. In a perfect world, I do like the manual robustness of the RB, knowing it's a tank that will work every time, so that is a big personal gripe of mine with the camera. But assuming it is working, there's no electronic failure or anything, the experience of the electronic shutter is buttery smooth. But because of that, the electronics can fail, which can be quite costly and just honestly annoying to deal with, so keep that in mind. However, honestly, this is probably S tier. It delivers top tier image quality, looks downright sick, and just has enough tech to make it user friendly. Yes, it's heavy, but the results are heavy hitting too. If the RB67 is a tank, the RZ67 is a luxury SUV with a film back, and for that, it's deserving of the highest praises. Next is the Mamiya 6. Ah yes, the Mamiya 6. While everyone's out there lugging bricks and battling waist level finders, the Mamiya 6 is out here being compact, quiet, and effortlessly cool. It's like the James Bond of 120 cameras. This camera has a cult following, and for good reason. It's one of the few medium format cameras that's actually portable and fun to shoot. The 6x6 format gives you that classic square frame, and the rangefinder design means fast focusing and quick shooting. Thus, street shooters and travel photographers love this thing. The lens selection is a bit limited, but they're all bangers. You've got the 50mm f4, 75 f3.5, and 150 f4.5. All razor sharp, well corrected, and lightweight. No zooms, no junk, just 3 surgical tools. The camera is also a refreshing 2.6 pounds with the lenses, half the weight of an RB or RZ. You could actually throw this in a backpack and avoid booking a chiropractor appointment. Prices are on the rise, surprise, surprise, but you can still snag one with a lens for around $2,000 to $2,500. Depending on the condition. That is a lot, but for what the camera offers, I honestly do think it's worth the price point. Overall, the thing is just a dream to use. Aperture priority mode makes metering easy, focusing is fast thanks to the rangefinder system, and the shutter is pretty much silent. Personally, I think that this is close to an S tier camera, but you'll see here momentarily why I'm going to put it in A. It's for people who want high quality medium format in a travel friendly, no nonsense package. If you like rangefinders and can live with square frames, the Mamiya 7 is like carrying a Leica that shoots large negatives, but for me personally falls just shy of one of my favorites of all time, the Mamiya 7. The Mamiya 7 and its slightly shinier twin, the 7 II, is the kind of camera that gets spoken about in hushed tones on forums. It's like if a camera was made by a monk who only pursued optical perfection and minimalism, but with just enough chaos to know when to shut the haters the fuck up. The Mamiya 7 is often called the best medium format camera ever made, and honestly, I think it might be. Stunning 6x7 negatives, legendary optics, a lightweight rangefinder body, and shockingly easy handling. It's genuinely my favorite camera of all time, so keep that bias in your head as we discuss my wife. In my mind, the Mamiya 7 lens selection is pretty much perfect, offering a wide variety of lenses for any scenario or shooting style. A 43mm f4.5 ultra wide and stupid sharp, a 50mm f4.5, 65mm f4, 80mm f4, which is the most quote normal and best known lens, a 150 f4.5, and a 210 f8, which is a little bit sketchy to focus, but it's there to use. All these are leaf shutter, tack sharp edge to edge, and built to optical perfection. But they are rangefinder coupled, which means no zooming and no macro dreams, just fast precision landscape and portrait work. With the lens, you're looking at around 2.5 to 3 pounds, basically a mirrorless medium format before that was a thing. Throw it in a backpack and you'll still have room for snacks, 35mm cameras, and the existential crisis after knowing the price tag, which oof is definitely the worst part. A body and 80mm lens will run you about $3,500 to $5,000 plus, depending on the condition and whether this seller has been sitting on Reddit all week. Lenses like the 43mm are getting close to $2,000 alone, so it's definitely a luxury for sure. With that being said, this is a for sure S tier camera. If you got the budget and shoot anything from landscapes to environmental portraits, it's truly the magnum opus. It's insanely sharp, painfully quiet, and somehow still under 3 pounds. The only big downside other than the price is that if it breaks, you'll probably cry because parts and repairs are not cheap and rare. But if you want a camera that makes you feel like you've reached nirvana, the Mamiya 7 is that camera. Next, the Mamiya 645. The Mamiya 645 is like that friend who always shows up on time, doesn't grumble, and quietly does incredible work while everyone else is left complaining. It's not flashy, it's not trendy, but it gets the job done. And sometimes that's all you really need. The Mamiya 645 and its later versions, the 645 Super, Pro, Pro TL, 1000S, etc., are known for being reliable and modular, all while being relatively affordable. They shoot a slightly smaller 6x45 negative, which means that you get more shots per roll, 15 to 16 to be exact, a blessing if you're budget conscious or hate reloading film mid-session. In my opinion, it's a bit of a sleeper in the medium format world, especially for portrait or wedding shooters. One of the best things about the 645 system is the lens lineup. Tons of Mamiya Sakura glass that's sharp, plentiful, and still pretty affordable. The 80mm f2.5 is your nifty 50 standard lens, while the 55mm, 110mm, and 150mm are also popular picks. There's also even a manual focus 300mm, so if you want to cosplay as a wildlife shooter, go ahead. Weight is going to vary by model, but most fall between 3 to 5 pounds with a prism and lens. Definitely lighter than an RB or RZ, but still chunky enough to let people know you mean business. The bodies and lenses are still relatively affordable by medium format standards. A full Mamiya 645 Pro TL kit with a lens and film bag can be found for around $500 to $900, sometimes even less, which is great value for the image quality you're getting. You get interchangeable backs on newer models, waist level or prism finders, and a logical control layout. The newer models even have TTL flash metering if you're into that, and the autofocus models are surprisingly capable. Despite older older autofocus feeling a little bit clunky. Think more early DSR than mirrorless ninja like the Mamiya 7. That being said, the Mamiya 645 system is probably B tier overall, A tier if you're on a budget or shoot tons of portraits or need a reliable rig. It doesn't necessarily have the wow factor of the 6x7 giants, but it punches way above its weight class, and if you're smart, it'll pay for itself with just a few rolls, depending on the job. Since I started out in a Mamiya 645 1000S, I gotta throw it in A tier, I think. Next is the Mamiya C220 and C330. If the RB67 is a tank and the Mamiya 6 is a sports car, then the Mamiya C220 and C330 are like vintage Volvos. Boxy, built to last, and surprisingly fun once you figure them out. These are twin lens reflex cameras with interchangeable lenses, which is basically unheard of in the TLR world. The C220 and 330 have earned a rep for being the thinking person's TLR. While Rolleiflex gets all the love on Instagram, these Mamiyas quietly deliver sharp, clean images, modular versatility, and a whole lot of character. Street shooters, fine art photographers, and photographers who just want to slow down love these. They are quirky, but once they click with you, they're actually quite serious cameras. The C220 is the more basic model, manual everything, lighter with simpler mechanics. The C330 is the upgraded version, automatic parallax correction, bellows focusing, and a bit more weight and complexity. Think of the 330 as the professional level, nerded out version of the 220. As for the lenses, this is where the cameras get interesting. Despite being a TLR, they've got 55mm, 65mm, 80, 105, 135, 180, and even a 250mm. With that being said, the 80 and 105 are the most popular, being probably the most versatile when it comes to portraits. They are all leaf shutter lenses, which is great for flash sync, and the image quality is surprisingly sharp for such an old system. The cameras weigh around 3 to 4 pounds depending on the system, which all in all is pretty lightweight, as you can still find a working C220 or 330 with a lens for $300 to $600, maybe less if you get lucky or love the cleaning fungus. Lenses are also decently priced, usually for $100 to $200 each. To me, this is a solid B tier, maybe an A tier depending on your shooting style. For portraits, still life, and slow intentional work, they definitely shine, but they won't win you any speed awards, but you'll definitely look cool doing it. Plus, that interchangeable lens system gives them a leg up on almost every other TLR out there. If you're on a budget and get good with these cameras, I could see the argument for A tier, but for me, I'm tossing it in B tier. Next is the Pentax 67. Now, I know some of these comparisons are getting a bit ridiculous, but bear with me. If the Mamiya 7 is a scalpel, then the Pentax 67 is like a warhammer. This thing looks like a regular 35mm SLR until you pick it up and realize you just benched over 5 pounds of raw camera muscle. The Pentax 67 is for the brave, the bold, and anyone with strong wrists and a high tolerance for mirror slap. That being said, the Pentax 67 is loved for its SLR feel, and rightfully so. It is a big, bright viewfinder, incredible glass, and shoots beautiful 6x7 negatives. Because of its ergonomics, it feels more familiar with 35mm shooters than any other medium format system, which is a huge selling point for many people, some of my friends included. However, it's not subtle at all or quiet, but it does deliver some of the most cinematic, dreamy images out there. There are 3 slightly different variations out there, ascending in price as they get newer and more complicated. The Pentax 6x7, the OG tank with mechanical advance, the Pentax 67, which had some minor improvements but was mostly cosmetic, and then the Pentax 672, which added a proper grip, LCD, auto exposure, and better ergonomics in general. No matter which system, the crown jewel is in its legendary lenses, especially the 105 f2.4, known for its creamy bokeh and rich rendering. Outside of that illustrious lens, there's a bunch, including a 55mm f4, 90mm f2.8, 135mm f4, which is a macro, a 165mm, and a 200mm. Oh, there's also even a 300mm telephoto lens if you want to risk spinal compression. Seriously though, this lens lineup is damn near perfect like the Mamiya 7s. However, unlike the Mamiya 7, a Pentax 67 with a lens weighs around 5 to 7 pounds, depending on the setup. Prices have definitely gone up thanks to Instagram and hipster lust, so expect to pay between $1,500 and probably $2,500 for a body with a 105mm lens. The 672 variant is pushing $3 to $4 grand if clean, still cheaper than a digital medium format system, and definitely cooler too. That being said, the biggest strength of this system is its natural feel to shoot if you're coming from 35mm. Bright and clear viewfinder, intuitive controls, and beast lens selection. However, the weight and mirror slap is definitely real. There's no interchangeable backs, and reloading film mid-session could break your flow, and there's also no autofocus, obviously. This camera is all you. To me, this is a strong A-tier camera, or low S-tier if you don't mind the bulk or really value that SLR shooting style. The images are stunning, the handling is familiar, and the glass is some of the best in medium format, but you will definitely need a good strap, a sturdy tripod, and hopefully intact labrums. For me, like I said, it's toggling between A and S, but I think it is a low tier S tier camera. Next is the Pentax 645. It's known as one of the most user-friendly and durable medium format systems out there. While it doesn't have the flash of a 6x7 camera or the cool factor of a rangefinder or TLR, it's often praised for being fast, consistent, and just plain easy to shoot. Many wedding photographers from the 90s and 2000s swore by it, and honestly, it still holds up today. There are a couple different models, which include the Pentax 645, which is the original. It's fully manual focus with auto exposure and built-in motor wind, a sleeper hit for medium format in general. There's also the Pentax 645N and the N2, which both were quite an upgrade. Autofocus, matrix metering, improved ergonomics, and a killer viewfinder. And they also made some digital 645 cameras, but yeah, we're gonna stick to film here. Another nice thing about the camera is Pentax made a wide range of lenses, all with solid reputations, including the 75mm f2.8, standard yet sharp and reliable lens, a 45mm f2.8, much wider and just fun in general, a 120 f4 macro lens, a 150 f3.5, a 200 f4, and 2 and 300mm f4 lenses if you like long glass. The Pentax 645 with a lens weighs around 3 to 4.5 pounds depending on the lens, which is not bad for a full SLR with motor drive and metering built in. As for the price, like many of the 645 systems, in my opinion, they're still one of the best value buys in medium format. The manual focus kits can go for $400 to $700, and the 645N bodies with a lens run between $1,000 to $1,500 depending on condition and focal length. To me, definitely an easy A tier camera, maybe B tier if you're a format snob and insist on bigger negatives, but in terms of real world usability, consistency, and bang for your buck, this is honestly one of the smartest purchases in medium format film right now, especially if you're a working film photographer using it for portraits, weddings, travel, or any type of content that you need to be versatile while shooting. So yep, for me, going in the A tier. Next, staying in the same format, the Contax 645. This camera is a legend both technically and aesthetically, and for a brief, glorious moment in time, it was the camera of choice for high-end wedding and fashion photographers in the early 2000s. And then again for cool kids on Instagram, 20-some years later. For many people, this is like their favorite camera, some irrationally. The handling is silky smooth, the autofocus is quick for medium format, and the lens rendering is basically black magic. The biggest complaint is, well, it's expensive. It's tied to the Contax name, which at this point are not cheap cameras. It's also obviously discounted and slightly delicate, and did I mention it's expensive? Enter stage left, Carl Zeiss glass, which is where the Contax 645 drops the mic and really excels. The Zeiss 80mm f2 is legendary. I mean f2 on a medium format. It's glowy, sharp, dreamy, and just downright iconic. It also has a 120mm macro f4 for surgical level portraits. It also has a 35, 45, 120, 140, and even a 350 if you're feeling cinematic, I guess. There's even a digital back adapter that some maniacs still chase on the used market, but again, you're looking at potentially selling an organ to acquire one. Every lens feels like it's precision forged in a German wizard's lab, which they basically were. They weigh roughly between 5 to 5.5 pounds depending on the lens and back. Not nearly as beastly as a Pentax 6.7, but certainly not lightweight either. It's heavy, but in a luxurious way, like you want to carry it. As for the price, buckle up. A body, prism, a back, and the 80mm f2 goes for $3,500 to $5,000 easily. On top of that, lenses are all $1,000 plus at least, with the 80mm sometimes pushing $2,000 alone. If you want to build it out anymore, spare backs, grips, accessories are also climbing in price, so yeah, it's definitely not a cheap camera. With that being said, through and through, it's just an absolute joy to shoot. The autofocus is quick for a medium format film camera, the interface is intuitive, and the viewfinder is incredible. Film backs make loading a breeze, and the ergonomics are 11 out of 10, but repairs are tough. The manufacturer stopped making parts, and every existing body is 20 plus years old, so it's not if it'll break, it's when. And then you cry a little bit and send it to Japan. It's a solid S tier in terms of image quality, lens performance, and sheer joy of use. Probably a B tier in terms of reliability and practicality, and an F tier for your wallet. Basically, if it works, it's one of the best film cameras ever made. Just don't drop it, or breathe too hard near it, or get it wet, or have anything inside the camera that's totally out of your control fail, or your investment could be toast. Because of this, the high ceiling for the camera, yet painfully obtuse weaknesses in the form of a at least $4,000 price point, I think I can only put this guy in the A tier. Up next, the Hasselblad 500cm and its M-series siblings. The 500cm is considered one of the most reliable and legendary medium format systems of all time, and even shot the moon landing. Okay, just kidding, the 500EL did it, but close enough. It's built like a vault, shoots beautiful square 6x6 negatives, and has a modular system that allows you to swap film backs, viewfinders, and lenses. It's minimalist, perfectly engineered, and timeless. And again, a theme you'll see consistent through the video. A huge reason why it's so great is that Carl Zeiss German magic. You've got a whole lineup of C, CF and CFI/CFE lenses that are known for their sharpness, micro contrast, and dreamy fall off. Some of the favorites are the 80mm f2.8, the golden standard, sharp, fast, gorgeous, yeah. A 60mm, which is obviously wider but still crisp, and two super sharp 120 and 150mm lenses as well. All of the lenses have leaf shutters, which means flash sync works at all speeds. Great for studio photographers. It's compact for medium format, weighing in between 3.5 to 4 pounds, which isn't bad. Prices will vary depending on the camera body, model, condition, and lens, but generally you can pick one up for $1,500 to $2,000. The camera is fully manual, so no batteries, unless you're using a metered prism. Regardless of this camera, I was debating between S and A tier. It's timeless and elegant, and it's surprisingly easy to use for a camera whose design has been basically unchanged since the 1950s. In a way, it's sort of like the Leica for medium format, but because it is 6x6 negatives, which I know this will be controversial, but for me, I prefer asymmetrical aspect ratio, so I gotta throw it in A tier. I'm sorry. Next up is the Rolleiflex. This is the camera of street photography legends, war correspondents and celebrities, of Vivian Mayer and every old guy at the camera show who seemingly knows more than you ever will. They shoot 6x6 negatives, have whisper quiet leaf shutters, and are tiny compared to most medium format gear. They're not modular like a Hasselblad, but that's part of their charm. What you see is what you get, and what you get is fantastic. Now, there are a lot of different models, including the budget-friendly Rolleicord, and thus lots of different lenses, which I won't go through, but know that the lens selection is vast and the majority are quality. The whole camera weighs between 2 to 3 pounds, depending on which model, which is nothing compared to many other medium format cameras. That being said, depending on the model, the prices range quite widely. The Rolleiflex 2.8F is $2,000 to $4,000 depending on the condition. The 3.5F models are $1,200 to $2,500, and the Rolleicords, which are much cheaper and a great entry point, are between $400 to $800. Sadly, accessories like prism finders, lens hood, original straps, etc. are not cheap, but they're certainly cool. To me, I'm thinking this camera probably realistically has to fall somewhere between A and B in my opinion. It's silent, compact, sharp as hell, and definitely dripping with vintage charm, but it takes some getting used to. There's pretty much no modularity to it, and the lens is fixed to the model, so yeah, like I said, what you see is what you get. For me, because it's a TLR and I typically don't love shooting these style of cameras, I am gonna throw it in B tier. Next up, the Yashica TLRs. The Yashica TLRs are a gateway drug to twin lens photography, and honestly for good reason. They offer sharp optics, reliable performance, and that classic waist level experience for a wallet friendly price. These certainly are the best bang for your buck TLRs. While they don't quite have the cult following or elite build quality of the Rolleiflex, they're consistently praised for sharp lenses, ease of use, and reliability. Many shooters actually prefer them for travel or street because they're less precious and draw less attention. There are a ton, but we're just going to talk about some of the greatest models. The Yashica Matte, which is the original and started it all. The Yashica Matte 124, which has an improved shutter and lens. The Yashica Matte 124G, the final and most refined version with gold-plated contacts. Definitely the GOAT of the lineup. There's also earlier models like the D, the LM, and the EM that pop up, but the 124G is the one that everyone wants, and I would implore you to get. Most models feature a 80mm f3.5 4-element Tessar style lens. Very sharp, especially when stopped down, with gorgeous bokeh and character, especially for portraits. It's not quite Zeiss levels of contrast or micro detail, but honestly, it's pretty damn close. Another nice thing about this system is its weight. It only weighs between 2.5 to 3 pounds, which is very similar to the Rolleiflex. Super easy to carry, perfect for travel or shooting all day. As for the price, this is probably the best part. A clean Yashica Matte 124G, the one that I suggested, typically goes for $300 to $600, which is pretty dang good. Obviously, the earlier models are even cheaper. You can still find decent ones for under $200. To put it in context, that's less than a Hasselblad focusing screen. It's a quiet, subtle camera that slows you down in the best way. Especially if you're a beginner, you think before you shoot, and it invites intention. And it does all this without intimidating you, which is probably one of the best parts. I think this is probably a B+ to A tier camera, depending on your priorities. It's affordable, compact, it has great optics, and it's just fun to use in general. But again, it's got a fixed lens, it doesn't have interchangeable backs. Metering can be a little spotty, and it's just not as bomb-proof as the Rolle. But if the Rolleiflex is a professor with a doctorate, the Yashica is the cool art teacher who makes you fall in love with photography all over again. It's got charm, character, and way more performance than the price tag suggests. So for that, I think it's a high B tier ranking, and honestly, I can't rank it over the Rolle systems. Come on. Next is the Minolta Autocord. The Minolta Autocord is often lumped in with the Yashicas and Rolles, but make no mistakes, this is a serious camera with its own fan club. Built in Japan from the 1950s through the 60s, the Autocord brought precision optics, unique ergonomics, and some quiet swagger to the twin lens game. For many film photographers, the Autocord is considered a hidden gem. People love it for its sharp Rockor lens, ergonomic focusing lever, and sleek design. I hear it often referred to as the poor man's Rolleiflex, but that's kind of unfair because in the right hands, it holds up shockingly well, even side by side. You get a Rollcore 75mm f3.5 on most of the models, and which is a 5-element lens, sharper than you'd expect with gorgeous contrast and creamy bend. It's relatively compact, coming in at around 2.5 to 3 pounds. Again, very similar to the Rolleiflex and Yashica, but closer to the Yashica price point. A clean autocord now goes for $300 to $600, with mint ones pushing just a bit higher. Still a steal compared to the Rolleiflex 2.8F. It has a lever focusing system beneath the lens that's buttery smooth and way more ergonomic than the typical side dials. The focus lever is delicate, so if you try to force it or drop the camera, it is prone to breaking. Again, I think it's high B tier, maybe low A tier if you're a fixed lens TLR purist who values image quality and ergonomics over brand prestige. It's got a really sharp lens, unique feel, is super underrated, and has sort of a cult following. But its lack of meter, fragile focus lever, and lack of lens selection definitely draws it down a bit. That being said, like the other TLRs, I gotta throw it in B tier. So I know this is a little misleading with all these TLRs in the same price, but for how good the Rolleiflex is, the price drags it down, I think, a substantial amount. And both for the Yashicas and the Minoltas, while yes, they're not nearly as good as a Rolleiflex, obviously, the cheap price point brings those up quite a bit because they're not that much worse, honestly. And at the end of the day, it's just a personal preference thing and probably build quality thing. Up next, and getting away from the TLRs, is the Fuji GA645. Now, these cameras definitely have a large cult following for a good reason. They're lightweight, automatic, dead quiet, and shoot tack sharp 6x45 negatives. They're perfect for traveling, hiking, and documentary style photography. When they first released, people used to turn their noses up at the design, but now prices are going up quite fast. The GA645 series is all fixed lens rangefinders, but with some variety. The GA645 has a 60mm f4 lens. The 645i has the same lens, but has slightly improved firmware and a data back. The 645wi has a wider 45mm f4 lens, and the 645zi has a 55mm to 90 f4.5 to 6.9 zoom lens, which does compromise in sharpness because it is obviously a zoom lens, but still great nonetheless. All the lenses are leaf shuttered, multi-coated, and razor sharp. In general, they're honestly seriously underrated optics. It's packaged in a small lightweight body, coming in at around 2 to 3 pounds, basically nothing for medium format. These are honestly closer to a big 35mm camera than something like a Mamiya or a Bronica. And before people really knew better, these used to be only like $400 at flea markets, but not so much anymore. As for the current prices, the 645 and the 645-1 go for around $800 to $1,400. The wide lens version goes for $1,200 plus, is definitely more rare and beloved. And the zoom lens goes for $1,000 to $1,500. Still cheaper than the Contax 645 by quite a bit, and honestly just as sharp out of the camera. It's a solid A tier, possibly an S tier if you prioritize traveling, landscape, documentary work, and general convenience. It's super sharp, lightweight, and is automatic everything, which is perfect for anyone that's on the go. But it does have electronic reliance. There's no interchangeable lenses, obviously. It doesn't have a lot of great manual control, and the autofocus, because it is an older film camera, isn't as fast as modern ones. In general, the GA645 is a beast of a camera. It's sleek, it's modern feeling, tech heavy, and way faster than what you would expect. It doesn't have the vintage romance of a TLR or the tank energy of an RB67, but it will get you incredible shots with minimal effort. And sometimes, that's exactly what you need. For me, being sort of a pseudo medium format point and shoot, I really love the camera, but I do think it comes up short with its electronic reliance and lack of manual control if needed. So yeah, I think it's a high A tier for me. Next up, the Fuji GW690. Appropriately nicknamed the Texas Leica because it looks like a Leica rangefinder after hitting the gym for 6 years and drinking nothing but rattlesnake protein shakes. This camera is all about big, beautiful, brutalist simplicity. No frills, no nonsense. Just giant 6x9 negatives and razor sharp glass. It's beloved by landscape shooters, documentary photographers, and anyone who wants maximum detail without hassle of bellows or backs. It's all mechanical, incredibly sharp, and built to last. But it is huge, like huge. The first time I held one, honestly, I was shocked. By the design, it looks just like a 35mm rangefinder, but oh boy, it's much larger. There are 3 main versions, but realistically, they're pretty damn similar. As for the lens, it's a fixed 90mm f3.5, equivalent to about a 40mm in 35mm. The lens is a leaf shutter, it's ultra sharp, and has very low distortion. That being said, the close focus is a bit limited. It's about 1 meter or 3.5 feet, but for landscapes and portraits, it's a beast. This thing is thick with 2 C's, coming in at about 3 to 4 pounds. It's about the size of a small loaf of bread and honestly demands a good camera strap or that gorilla grip. Honestly, I kind of think it's criminally undervalued. The newer units of the camera typically go for $900 to $1,300 depending on the condition, where earlier versions go for a few $100s less. Still a massive value for what you're getting. 6x9 sharpness in a reliable, no frills body. It's fully manual, no light meter, and because it's 6x9, you only get 8 shots per roll. A fair trade-off for a frame that's quite a bit larger than 645. A weird but kind of cool quirk of the camera is that the shutter count is printed on the camera, kind of like a mileage odometer. People use it to judge usage, but you'll also feel weirdly judged by it, like the camera's tracking your sins. The Fuji GW690 is the truck of medium format cameras. Loud, heavy, reliable, and built to haul. You don't take it everywhere, but when you do, it delivers like nothing else. I think for me, being the most accessible and easy to move 6x9 camera, it's gotta be in the A tier, a true beast of a camera. Next, the Fuji GW670. The GW670 series is part of Fuji's fixed lens rangefinder lineup that includes the 6x9, 6x8, and 6x6 formats. These are all about image quality, simplicity, and big negatives. But the 6x7 variant hits a sweet spot, in my opinion, in terms of size, usability, and visual balance. It's ideal for photographers who love the Fuji rangefinder aesthetic but don't want the film burn of shooting only 8 shots per roll like the 6x9. With a whopping additional 2 frames, meaning 10 frames per roll, it strikes a better balance between quality and practicality, especially for portrait or travel work. Just like the GW690s, each generation refined the ergonomics, strap lugs, cosmetics, and durability. However, the core performance stayed the same across all 3. As for the lens, it's a fixed 90mm f3.5, the same optics as the GW690. Although it is a bit lighter, being 2.8 to 3.3 pounds, much more manageable without a strap or in a backpack. GW673 typically sells in the $850 to $1,200 range. Earlier versions, which again are pretty much just simpler, can be found a little cheaper, around $600 to $1,000 depending on the condition. Thankfully, unlike the GW690, these aren't nearly as inflated yet. This is perfect for portraits, travel photography, documentary work, and even street if you don't mind the size. The 6x7 format offers a really nice balance between big detail and manageable frame size. It has huge negatives, sharp lens, it's durable, and honestly just simpler to carry than the 690, but it is still a bit bulky. There's no interchangeable lenses, no built-in meter, and it does have limited close focus. If the GW690 is the power move for ultra-wide landscapes, the GW670 is the thoughtful, versatile, everyday workhorse. Quietly incredible at almost everything without screaming for attention. For me, it slots into A tier in a similar workflow to the Mamiya 7, but just a noticeable notch down in my opinion. Next is the Fuji GX617. The Fuji GX617 is a medium format panorama camera that shoots literal landscape paintings on 120 film. Each frame is 6x17, about 4 times the surface area of a 35mm frame. This isn't your bring to a party camera by any means. This is the camera that you wake up at 4 a.m. to carry up a mountain because you know the sunrise will be worth it. It is basically the holy grail of panoramic medium format, especially if you want to shoot film in a 2:1 ratio without stitching, but keep in mind it only shoots 4 total frames per roll. It's not cheap, not compact, and not for casual snaps, but it's capable of truly legendary images. The GX17 is a modular system camera, meaning you can swap lenses, despite how rare and expensive they might be. There's a 90mm f5.6, wide, sharp, and great for most scenes, but keep in mind that since this is 6x17, a 90mm is equivalent to about 18mm on 35. There's a 105, a 180, and then a 300 as well. All the lenses are Fujinon EBC coated and leaf shuttered, no TTL metering, no autofocus, and you can pose through a separate viewfinder for each lens, like an old school large format field camera, which makes sense as the body alone comes in at around 5 pounds, and with the lens and finder closer to 7 pounds, which can get pretty painful, but not as painful as the price. The cost of the body only is around $2,500 to $3,500, with a lens that's closer to $5K or $5,500. And if you wanted that 300mm lens with it, you're looking at about $8K in total for the full kit, so yeah. But realistically, this is an S-tier camera for very specific people, photographers shooting expansive landscapes, cinematic scenes, architecture, etc. Otherwise, for casual shooters, this is probably a D tier. For many use cases, this is overkill, and with its price point and limited number of shots in each roll, it's honestly just kind of insanity. It's not just a camera, it's a commitment. But for the right type of shooter, the GX17 is a once-in-a-lifetime dream machine. However, because of the wide discrepancy, I think it has to probably be slated into B tier. A truly S-tier camera, but with its price and barrier to entry, I think B is more appropriate. Next, a Frankenstein of a camera, the Fuji GX680. The GX680 is a modular 6x8 medium format SLR system with front standard movements, like a large format camera. Yes, really. It's a studio beast with built-in bellows, a rotating film back, motorized everything, and comes in one huge package. It's so big, it honestly seems like it would be a joke, but oh baby, is it real. Loved by both portrait and studio photographers alike, it's hyper capable, but hilariously impractical for anything outside a studio or a very controlled location. It's obviously 6x8 format, but can be swapped to 6x7 and 6x6 with different backs. And it's a super modular design with interchangeable film backs, viewfinders, lenses, and even bellows. Like I said before, the front standard movements allowing to tilt the lenses for a medium format is awesome. Plus all the motorized functions and the rotating back, it's a beast. It also has a stellar selection of lenses, extremely sharp, well corrected, and surprisingly affordable relative to other high-end medium format systems. But there's literally tons that fit 125, 135, 150, 180, 210, etc. The biggest obvious problem, I'm sure you can somewhat feel it through the screen, is the weight. A body plus a prism plus a smaller 100mm lens plus a film back is around 10 to 11 pounds. So this is a tripod only camera unless you want your chiropractor to retire early. But it's also not the cheapest camera by any means either. For that same setup, it's around $1,200 to $2,000 depending on the condition and the version. Lenses are around $150 to $600 and backs go for a couple $100. I don't know, it's a relatively affordable system, honestly, for what you're getting, but I think for the size, it's huge. The GX680 is an S tier camera for studio, portrait, fashion, and product shooters, a D tier for backpacking in the mountains, however. It's not for everyone, but for the right person, I can see it being the perfect camera. It's a semi-truck of medium format, all torque, all function, and weirdly beautiful in its brutalism, but I think, for me, only appropriately fits in the B tier. Up next, the Bronica GS-1. Bronica, a super underrated brand in general, packages big 6x7 negatives in a form factor that's significantly lighter and smaller than both a Pentax 67 or a Mamiya RB or RZ67. Studio photographers love it, and it is particularly loved for smart engineering, great optics, and expansive modularity. Unlike many other brands, the Bronica GS-1 is the only version. No Mark II or updated version at all. The system allows for interchangeable lenses, backs, viewfinders, grips, specialized backs for 120, 220, Polaroid, and even a 6x6 back if you wanted. On top of that, they have some of the most affordable, best sleeper lenses in medium format. There's a 55mm f4.5, quite wide and sharp, a 65mm f4, a 100mm, a 150, and a 250mm. Oh, there even is a 500mm lens, which is pretty sweet for a medium. All lenses are equipped with leaf shutters, allowing flash sync at all speeds, super nice, and are generally super sharp, not overly clinical, but not mushy or soft either. Surprisingly, the GS1 comes in a pretty small package, slightly lighter than an RB or RZ. A body prism, 100mm lens, and back is about 5 to 6 pounds. It's manageable handheld with a grip, or my buddy Johnny used a thick neck strap, but honestly, I think it thrives on a tripod. While the prices might seem kind of high, I promise you, when you actually hold and use one, you'll quickly understand the quality you're working with warranting the expense. Full working kits often land around $1,000 to $1,600 or so, and lenses normally go for $100 to $400 depending on the focal length. Because it's still flying under the radar, you can build an entire GS1 system for less than the price of a beat-up Pentax 67 body alone, which when you put it like that is much more palatable. In general, it's fast enough, simple enough, and still very flexible once you learn the system. Good beginner camera, but also great for a pro who wants to build it to their exact specifics. Would be an absolutely killer camera for wedding or editorial photographers who want big negatives without the huge RB or RZ burden. Honestly, for the price, I am tempted to throw it in S tier, but I think when compared to those other cameras in S tier, it has to go in A tier. But for the price, it's really one of the best available, I think. Incredibly overlooked, yet rock solid, and has some really nice lens character in the medium format world. Next, the Bronica SQ system. The SQA specifically is known for being very reliable, ergonomically smart, and offering incredible value for what you get. Plus, with the right lenses, it can produce images that easily hang with the best of them. There are 4 different versions of the camera, all pretty similar but offering unique features. The Bronica SQA, which upgraded the electronics and added some other small features, even more electronic upgrades including better flash support, and the SQB, which is a more budget version aimed at pure mechanical shooters. The SQA is the sweet spot. It's more advanced the original but less finicky than some of the later models. All the lenses available, like the GS1, are leaf shutters, allowing for flash sync, again super nice. Excellent sharpness and good color rendering while still having a bit of softness sharpness to them. Again, some of the best medium format optics you can buy for the price. There's a 55mm, an 80mm, a 110, a 150, and then a legendary 40 ultra wide beast. Again, like the GS1, it's not huge, but not super tiny and compact either. A body, prism, 80mm lens, and back go for 5 to 5.5 pounds. Light enough to handhold comfortably, especially with the grip attached. It definitely feels smaller and nimbler than most modular 6x6 cameras. Full kits usually run around $800 to $1,400, and lenses go for, again, $100 to $400, which is way cheaper than comparable Hasselblad setups, and honestly, sometimes just as good. This is a perfect camera for anyone wanting classic square format shooting without selling a kidney. Honestly, if I was going to shoot a 6x6 camera long term, I think it would probably be this one or the Mamiya 6, which I think says something, as I typically don't really love that aspect ratio. It's affordable, durable, it's got great lenses, flash sync at all speeds, and beautiful 6x6 negatives. The electronics and leaf shutter can be really finicky, but overall, honestly, I think it's a solid A tier. Like I said, if I was to shoot any 6x6, probably be this one. Next is the Bronica ETR. The ETR series was Bronica's answer to photographers wanting 645 format in a modular system, and boy did it absolutely nail it. This camera is super underrated today, and honestly, Bronica in general is just underrated. The ETR system is loved for its portability, modularity, and incredible value all in a small portable package. There's the original ETR model, which is from 1976. There's the ETR-C, which has non-interchangeable backs, kind of rare and weird. The ETR-S, which was upgraded in 1979. Better accessories and just a more solid build overall. And then the ETR-S1, the final version, which came in the late 80s, has mirror lockup, TTL flash, improved electronics, and just built up the camera in general. Honestly, I would most recommend the ETR-S or ETR-S1. They have better reliability, accessories, and just general quality of life improvements, and I would really recommend the upgrade from the original. The ETR is fine, but the build just feels so much older compared to the new models. As for lenses, they have a wide ranging lineup, including a 40mm, a 50, 75, 100, 150, and 250. There's also some macro lenses, zooms, a 2x teleconverter, and some other stuff. All lenses again have leaf shutters, which is super sweet, and because it is a smaller aspect ratio, it does come in at a slightly smaller package compared to its larger sisters. A body, prism, 75mm lens, and back is about 4.5 to 5 pounds, which is noticeably lighter than most medium format modular cameras. It's genuinely hand holdable for long shoots, especially with the speed grip attached, but throwing it on a tripod wouldn't hurt as well. As for pricing, full working kits go for around $500 to $1,000, and lenses are a couple $100. You can build a killer full setup for less than a single Contax 645 lens. No joke. The ETR-S1 especially is a killer street, portrait, travel camera because it can be very fast to operate with the right setup. Would be really great for weddings, street photography, portraits, travel, fashion, and great for on-location flash work or natural light fast shooting. The 645 negative still packs a huge quality jump over the 35mm, and the ETR system just wants you to win. The one thing I will say is the 645 format isn't as wow as 6x7 or 6x9, but compared to 35mm is, yeah, quite a bit of an upgrade. For me, like the rest of the Bronica systems, I think it slots perfectly into A tier. For a budget-friendly system, I want to put them in S tier, but again, compared to the S tier cameras, I think that would be a little unfair, so A tier it is. Up next, the Koni Omega. Ah yes, the Koni Omega, the tank of the rangefinder world. If a Mamiya press and an Abrams tank had a child, it would be this beautiful, awkward beast. It's built like a cinder block, operates like a pump action shotgun, and spits out 6x7 negatives so clean and huge that your enlarger might file for a workers' comp claim. The Koni Omega system was designed primarily for press and reporting photographers in the 60s who needed fast operation and giant negatives. And they absolutely overbuilt this thing in pretty much every way possible, which has generated some sort of cult following, but for good reason. People love them or hate them, but no one forgets them. There's 4 different iterations: the Koni Omega Rapid, which is the first, the Rapid M, which adds interchangeable film backs, the Rapid Omega 100, which has some other minor upgrades, and then the Rapid Omega 200, which includes a rangefinder coupled focusing system, which is pretty sweet. The Rapid Omega 200 is usually considered the most refined and reliable version. Between all the bodies, there's a huge slew of different lenses that are outstanding, including a 90, 60, 58, 135, and 180mm lenses. The lenses are interchangeable, though swapping them isn't quite as elegant as on most other systems. It is a little clunky, but it is doable. Speaking of which, it's not the lightest camera by any means. The body with a 90mm lens and back comes in at about 6 to 7 pounds, which is why the price has continued continue to stay relatively low on these guys. Full working kits cost between $400 to $900 depending on the model and the condition, and lenses again go for a couple $100. One knock on the camera is that you definitely have to learn the rhythm. Cock the lens shutter, advance film with the pump grip, fire, repeat. Mess up the order and you'll get nothing but sadness and blank frames and honestly jeopardize the health of the camera. That being said, you can get some incredible images when you nail the flow, you work for it, but when you hit it, it's devastatingly good. If you ever wanted a medium format camera that can survive a nuclear blast, make you look like a vintage crime reporter, and crank out gallery worthy negatives, the Koni Omega is your best and maybe only option. A strong B tier for me. It is a great budget option, but when compared to some of the other legends on this list, B feels most appropriate. Super fun and practical to use. Cheap, yes, but like I said, in comparison, I think B is appropriate. Next, the Plaubel Makina 67. This camera is all about simplicity, quality, and pure image making. No distractions, no excuses. Beloved by street photographers, portrait shooters, and travel photographers alike, it's known for its absurd sharpness, unique handling, and drop-dead gorgeous design. That being said, it's very expensive, very delicate, and absolutely addictive if you click with it. Think luxury, limited edition analog tool rather than workhorse tank like an RB67. There are two models, the 67 and the 670, but the original is the more common one, if you could even say that. The latter version is optimized for 220 film with some refined electronics. Pretty cool. Both are almost identical mechanically and optically. Most people don't sweat which version they get. Condition matters way more. As for the lens, it's a fixed 80mm f2.8 Nikkor lens, one of the best lenses ever slapped onto medium format. It's equivalent to about a 40mm in 35mm terms. It has beautiful color rendition, creamy bokeh, and brutal clinical sharpness when stopped down. The lens is also obviously leaf shuttered inside the camera body, so it's quiet, smooth, and flash sync at all speeds like many of these others. Honestly, this lens alone is a major reason why people obsess over this camera, well, coupled with the tiny form factor. The body with the lens is 3.5 pounds, which obvious to say is extremely light for a 6x7. The thing is absolutely portable compared to, say, lugging a Pentax 6.7 or an RB67 around. Folded up, it's about the size of a fat hardcover book, which is pretty insane. However, something uniquely as insane is the price, sadly. In today's market, it's $3,500 to $6,000 plus, depending on the condition, which, yeah. That being said, I do think it's worth the price point. Like I said, it's truly a collector's item that is a beast of a camera as well. It has amazing glass, small form factor, and a cult following makes for an expensive cookie. Unlike many of the cameras on this list, it truly can shoot everything, well, besides maybe extreme macro shots, but otherwise, street photography, yes, it's that portable, traveling shots, portraits, documentary work, environmental portraits, landscapes, etc. It really does it all. Basically, if you love the Mamiya 7 but want something more stealthier, intimate, and just honestly cooler, this is your camera. For me, this is an easy S tier. It's truly one of the best cameras, let alone medium format cameras, ever created. It truly rivals the experience of a Mamiya 7, which is my favorite camera of all time, so I think that says a lot. Next, the legendary Widelux. Made most famous by Jeff Bridges, this camera is extremely rare and niche and legendary among panoramic nerds and largely unknown to the casual medium format crowd. It's incredible for landscapes, environmental portraits, and experimental work, but it is super weird ergonomically and mechanically. It is a panoramic, swinging lens allowing for some truly unique images to be generated. That being said, because it is so niche, especially the medium format version, it can be a bit unreliable if not serviced well, and well, good luck finding someone who will fix one. There are other 35mm versions, but obviously we'll save those for a future 35mm camera tier list video. It's basically the same video, just scaled up to fit 120 film. It comes with a 26mm f4 lens, which in medium format terms, that's crazy wide. Roughly equivalent to a 17mm in 35mm full frame. Absolutely wild perspective. It also has fixed focus, relying heavily on depth of field to keep things sharp. This lens delivers wild distortion, sweeping views, and that trademark Widelux curve to straight lines when you're close to your subjects. But after all, that's what you want, isn't it? This thing is also pretty damn huge. It doesn't weigh a ton, coming in at only like 3.5 pounds, but it just takes up a lot of space. The Widelux 1500 is rare and not often up for sale, but when they do pop up, expect between $2,500 and $5,000, depending on the condition and the working status. Some broken ones will sell cheaper, but getting them fixed is a journey into darkness and money. If you want one, just be patient and get ready to pounce when it surfaces. If you're tired of quote regular photography and you want to break your brain wide open, this camera will definitely do it. For the right person, a landscape freak, a pano junkie, a surrealist photographer, it's an A tier or B tier dream camera, but for most people, it is way too weird Way too risky and just way too expensive, and honestly, I would agree. For something so pricey with little to no repairability and with a new one coming out in the future, honestly, I think this is our first C-tier contestant. Again, it's a great camera, but for the price, when compared to other cameras on the list, it's a bit rich and honestly pretty niche for my liking, so yeah. Next up, the Eastern Bloc Kiev 60. Loved by some, hated by many, the Kiev 60 is a bit polarizing. Known for its rugged looks, chaotic mechanics, and incredibly good lenses when they work. It does have some inconsistent build quality. Some copies are tanks, some are complete paperweights, but because of that, it's an affordable entry point into medium format, but it can be a bit of a gamble. In short, if you're a little brave and a little stupid, the Kiev 60 could be your medium format soulmate. There are two different models to choose from, neither of which are very trustworthy. The Kiev 60, which is the original model, and then the Kiev 60 TTL, which has through the lens metering, but honestly, don't trust it very much. One really good thing about this Soviet system is they made it to basically be a Pentax 6 copy, which in return takes Pentax lenses. Zeiss lenses, Soviet lenses, Schneider, Meyer optics, etc. A ridiculous number of options. Adaptability is a huge strength here. You can build an insane medium format lens lineup for dirt cheap. Despite being an SLR styled format, it's still 4 to 4.5 pounds with standard lens. Heavy as hell for its form factor, which there's no getting around that. It's actually heavier than a lot of 6x7 rigs, despite being a 6x6 shooter, which is a bit of annoying. As for the price, it comes in at around $300 to $600 depending on the condition and the included lens. Some pristine ones might scrape like $800+, but that's pretty rare. It's still one of the cheapest true interchangeable lens medium format SLR systems, but honestly, budget an extra $150 to $300 for a CLA if you want it to work reliably long term. That being said, because of its form factor, despite its weight and great lens selection, you can pretty much shoot anything with this. Portraits, landscapes, studio work, street or documentary stuff, etc. Basically, shoot slow and methodically and don't rush the mechanical tolerances. Honestly, I was going to put this in C tier for its reliability issues, but I think it's a low B, kind of tiptoeing on that line. If it was a bit more reliable, I could see it being a solid B or even potentially an A, but the price brings it up quite a bit, but the reliability brings it down. Next up, the Holga. This plastic, light-leaking, blur-inducing camera is quite a legend in medium format and gives zero cares about technical perfection and 1000% about vibes. Imagine if someone melted a toy, glued a lens on it, and then accidentally made one of the most beloved cult cameras of all time. But I should be careful with what I say. In the last tier list, I shit on the Holga a bit, and man, the comments were not happy. The general consensus is that it's either widely loved or hated for its flaws, because it's a simple camera that is iconic for its lo-fi aesthetic. However, if you like sharpness or control, you'll probably hate it. It's more about the feeling than the pixel peeping. Realistically, I kind of want to compare it to like a disposable camera. Some people just enjoy the simplicity and film look, and that's okay. There's technically a handful of different versions, including 35mm versions, which I didn't know before this video. There's the Holga 120N, the Holga 120FN, which adds a flash, the 120 CFN, which add color filters, and then a panoramic version as well. As for the lens, which is the true star of the Holga, I guess you could say, it's a 60mm f8-ish plastic lens. Well, some special editions did have glass lens, but most are plastic. They're pretty sharp in the middle, honestly, but get some real tasty vignetting on the outsides. That being said, it does come in an extremely small and lightweight package. Emphasis on lightweight. It only weighs about 1 pound, which for a medium format camera is pretty beast. It also, unsurprisingly, is super cheap, coming in at like $50 to $100 depending on the condition and model. And new ones are still being made after a brief production death in the 2010s. But what's the verdict? I think it's a solid A tier for fun, experimental shooters, and vibe chasers, but a D tier if you're a control freak or need your negatives to survive inspection under a loupe. It's fun, cheap, liberating, and gives some uniquely beautiful results. However, there is zero precision, zero predictability, which can quickly turn into wasted money. Ultimately, I think I'm going to put this in C tier as well. For the price, it can give you some unique, fun results, but more often than not, I think it'll leave you disappointed even with its $50 price tag. And there it is, a completely scientific, 100% correct list of medium format cameras. Just kidding, obviously every camera here is capable of making great photos, even the ones that aren't on the list. Ultimately, it's about finding one that fits your shooting style, your back muscles, and your budget. Let me know down in the comments which cameras you think I got correct, which you think I got wrong, and what your dream medium format camera setup is. Otherwise, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe for more film photography chaos in the future. Catch you guys in the next one. Remember, it's not the camera, but it's the person behind the camera, but some cameras are just significantly cooler than others. Peace out.